Hello everyone and welcome to a slightly different episode today as we take a break from Curvecast to focus on something completely different, that of the Broker Hub, a company who gives brokers the platform to start their own brokerage. And today we'll be discovering a little bit more about that, understanding what a broker's profession is, understanding the career progression and what it's like to own your own brokerage. And today we're joined by someone who perfectly fits that bracket, Mr. Jamie Bridson, co-founder and director of Aston Commercial Finance. How are you, mate? You all right?
Yeah, all good, thank you. All
very good, very
Making
good.
me blush with that intro.
Hey, mate, honestly, I like to give me guests a good introduction. You know
Absolutely,
what I mean?
Yeah,
you know
I can see it's consistent across all the podcasts.
That's it, mate.
So.
You've got to give them in with a little bit of music, a little bit of swing. Do you know
Definitely.
what I mean?
It's what I've been looking forward to. But
yeah,
on that note, yeah, see you later.
Yeah, that's it, mate. See you guys. All the best. So, yeah, we'll start off, mate, with just a little bit of background about yourself, Jamie. Going into how you got, obviously, into the career that you are and the journey you've been on.
Definitely, yeah. So how far back are we going?
I mean, look, as far as you want to, mate, as far as whatever you feel.
Yeah, so so I started quite early, really, with the career. So I went from school to college, so I could do 3 days a week. In my extra 2 days a week that I had free, I was then working at Tag Heuer selling watches, which is where I found a bit of a knack for sales. I then worked there for about a year, finished school, started selling pet insurance, which I'd recommend you avoid if you ever look at going down that career path. But it was a really good experience, got me into financial services, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then from there, was headhunted by a brokerage in Milton Keynes. Did about 2.5 years there. Was relatively successful. And then I met Kev, obviously, who runs Curve. And from there,
it's just
started,
bloomed.
started Aston, and it's all been going for the last 9 months now. So
fantastic. So how did the early experiences, what you just have talked about there, obviously, I mean, pet insurance for starters, how have these experiences, how did that shape your career into the financial industry then?
So I think I've always had an interest in finance. The thing that was I think it's the sales side of it that really sort of shaped my career and pushed me down the route of being a broker rather than going into banking or going into being an IFA. But equally, I think sales opens up so many opportunities for you with whatever you want to go into, whether it's recruitment, whether it's pet insurance, watches, because you can sell anything. So it's more that I just had sort of an innate interest in business and money, and then thought, well, where can I sell both money to businesses? Finance broking. Here we go.
Yeah, and that adaptability that you had, I guess, from so many experiences in the sales, like you've just said there, sales can go in any different direction. What was it particularly then, when you started out, that led you into the sort of broker side of things? Was it a specific turning point, or?
I think it was more just getting headhunted by the company I was working for, to be honest with you. I fell into it like most people do with a sales career, and then just got in and really, really enjoyed it. Loved the fact that I was speaking to business owners of all sizes and getting in the room with some really interesting people, and then again just sort of put in the hours and got to that point where I've probably done my 10,000 hours now and can say I'm an expert, as it were. But it's just a really, really interesting sort of area that you can sell for me personally. But sales in general, as I say, you can do what you want, can't you? If you love cars, you can go sell Ferraris. If you love placing people in jobs, you can do recruitment like your lot.
Absolutely. And with that, is it more the sort of, like you said there, the interest in people? Obviously, you're saying you meet so many different, you have a discussion with me before about the whole networking side of things and getting to know people and understanding, I guess, the problems that they're having.
Yeah, absolutely. There's an element of that, and it's getting to understand how they tick, and even people's career paths who have got to an area that's quite aspirational for where they are currently. I think the other element as well is you can sort of pick up a client when they're just taking on VC investment and they've not really got any money in the bank. They've got maybe 1 or 2 customers, and then we've got a suite of about 15 products, and you can really utilise those products to help drive growth within a business. So you can sit there 2 years down the line with a customer where you've had the directors nail out a load of points that they want to make on an initial call, and then they've hit them all in 2 years, and you've helped them sort of go along that journey as well. So it's not only getting to know those people and understanding sort of what makes them tick, it's also sort of going on a bit of a journey with them and helping them to achieve goals in what they're doing now.
Absolutely, and I guess you get to see that full journey, don't you, with them, alongside them working with Aston as you do.
Definitely, yeah. And sort of have a bit of a part in a way with sort of placing them with the right products and
must be rewarding,
doing them a good deal.
Yeah,
at times. Stressful at others.
Can be stressful. Yeah. Well, speak to me a little bit then about that. Then the stressful side, I guess, of it. I mean, because you just touched on it there. What aspects are quite challenging sometimes? It can be, I guess.
Yeah, I think in the market I'm in, there's a lot that's out of your control. So as we've all seen with rates over the last few years, they're all over the place. Again, the joy of being a broker is that you can pivot with the market a little bit and sort of remove that stress. Obviously, customers have a mind of their own and can choose what they want to do, which by all means is absolutely fine. But that can occasionally cause a bit of stress. And the broker market itself is very competitive as well. So you tend to know all the other brokers in the market. You tend to come up against them on deals. So you need to sort of have your wits about you and know you're quoting a good price rather than sort
study
of
the weaknesses.
Yeah, exactly. Not make a quick buck on people.
Absolutely. So, more specifically then, what do Aston do? I guess. Give us a little bit more about Aston Commercial Finance and what you guys do for the broker market.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've set up as a generalist very much. So again, we like to focus on sort of what our customers need to grow and then what products we've got in our suite of products to be able to enable them to sort of go on that journey of growth. So we work with about sort of 15 products. It's about 45 lenders that we've got on the panel at the moment directly, but because we're not limited to a panel, we can work with the whole UK lending market, so it gives us a lot of freedom. I suppose with Aston, what we're trying to do is just build a business that's got multiple brokers within it for a start, so we're getting there with that point. Hopefully by the end of Q1 next year, it will take a bit off my plate. And also just having a bit of a different view to the rest of the market, where we're very much focused on consumer duty, doing the right thing by the customer. We have no issues with sort of commission disclosures, which are a bit of a hot topic in my sector at the minute. And just sort of trying to build those long-term relationships with people, again, to sort of help facilitate the growth of their businesses, rather than trying to operate as sort of a, stack them high, sell them expensive type business that you see a lot of other brokers in the market working as.
Well, you said there, obviously, that other people in the market do, so that obviously they have a slightly different approach. What I think you might have touched on it a little bit there in terms of long-term relationships and whatnot. What is unique then about Aston? What makes it sort of a different approach and unique within the broker market?
Definitely. So I think the Broker Hub also helped to add to that, because obviously myself, I'm 22, so I've not got the most experience in the world compared to some people, but the combination of both Phil and Martine in the background, so obviously Martine sits within the business directly and then Phil within the Broker Hub, they've combined got 50 years worth of experience in both asset finance and commercial lending. They've both run banks and lenders themselves, so having those guys on side means we can utilise their networks to be able to find products that other brokers may not necessarily be able to find. Equally, they've got a lot of experience when it comes to actually understanding the nuances of specific products. So, for example, Martine in invoice finance is worth her weight in gold, because she knows every single lender and every single lender's sort of each specific requirements and what they can offer the customer. So it allows us to just get a really good facility and have something with a bit of knowledge behind it, rather than sort of just trying to shoehorn people into a certain product or a certain lender because it's all we've got on our panel, or it's the only person that we've dealt with, for example.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, you said, 22 years of age, man. I mean, that in terms of life, that is very early in terms of career.
Little baby, should still be at uni.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you touched on there with the Broker Hub, I was going to ask a little bit about it later, but we'll get into it a little bit now.
Definitely jumped into it.
Yeah, absolutely. The network that you've got from that and the support from the Broker Hub, you mentioned Phil and Martine there. What is that importance then of having that experience and that network around you from the Broker Hub to support you with Aston and what you're doing?
Definitely, yeah. So I mean, their experience is, it's fantastic. Not only from a sense of their connections and the people that they know in the industry and the introductions that they can make for me, even just from a standpoint of being able to grow and scale the business. I don't think I'd have made the jump to start my own business as soon. One, because I didn't have the funds to be able to do it, and obviously Curve Capital and Kevin, everything helped with that front. And two, also I didn't have the connections, didn't have the experience in the market, didn't have the experience of scaling a business to grow it the way that I'd want to grow it. Unfortunately, I was able to get to know, obviously, the team at the Broker Hub through Kev, and it sort of was an opportunity that you can't say no to when you've got people with the experience and the track record that they have wanting to be a business partner. Again, especially at such a young age, it's sort of time to come in, work hard and be a sponge. Yeah,
absolutely. Could you, I guess, detail specific instances where the Broker Hub has helped you so much? I mean, I don't know whether people will probably want to know what the Broker Hub is for starters, actually. So if you could explain a little bit more about that, mate, that'd be
Definitely,
great.
yeah. So the Broker Hub operate effectively as a VC, and they'll invest in brokers, take a share within the company, and then allow you to start your business. They then mentor you through setting up the company, doing business plans, sort of day-to-day operations, and then we'll hold board calls with you just to make sure you're continuing to grow the company and sort of are on the right track. So I forgot the second part of the question.
No, it's sorry. It was just more of like a basis on essentially what the Broker Hub is,
Absolutely,
which I think you've described there fine.
Covers it off, yeah.
What detail then have you got any detail of instances of where the Broker Hub has particularly assisted you at Aston and how they have done?
I mean, I think one good example would be sort of a more complex large deal. So I can't talk too much on the industry because I'm under NDA for it, but there's a deal that's about 1.9 million in asset finance that we're working on at the moment. So it's quite a complicated one. The Topco's based in Australia. It's for a UK trading company, but that's a new start business that's currently raising investments. There's a lot of nuances to a deal like that. With Phil's experience, he knows people within banks that are able to create international cross-company guarantees with the Australian business. We're able to do buyback sort of clauses with suppliers as well with his contacts and everything like that. So it's the ability to take on work that you'd otherwise have to turn around or turn down if you were in my position and you'd gone down one of the other franchise network routes, because again, I don't have the network or the experience to be doing deals of that size on my own. Obviously, it's a deal, so it works the same as the rest of them. It's just slightly bigger numbers. But again, having that support network there and someone in your corner who's able to make introductions to the people you need to send it to.
Absolutely.
It's worth its weight in gold. It's who you know, not what you know at the end of the day, isn't it?
And I suppose that is a big factor. From what I'm getting here, mate, I mean, look, I know very little about brokerage and whatnot in terms of finance. I guess, though, from what you're getting from the Broker Hub and what I'm understanding here is it's sort of an education as well.
Absolutely,
You're gaining from that. Do you feel that as well?
Definitely, yeah. It's something that Kev says a lot as well, is that you every day's a school day. You're constantly learning, try and be a sponge. And it's something that I've always, through each step of my career, I've always applied as well, is that, I sort of worked somewhere not until I can't get any more out of them, but until I feel like I've done an extended period of learning and bettered myself. And then I've looked for the next opportunity at that stage. Similarly to the Broker Hub now, obviously, I've got something where the sky's the limit, and I'm a shareholder in the business, so I'm not going to be looking for another opportunity. But you just go to every single day with the attitude that you're learning something and you've got to sort of better yourself. It's that 1% increase every day, isn't it?
That's it. And then I guess from being a broker, obviously working as a broker for a company, to now moving on to, I guess, the entrepreneurship, start of your own journey in that.
Definitely, yeah.
What was that like, really? I guess going from, not having as much responsibility to sort of like working for a company and, like you were saying, in different, obviously, financial sectors, to then owning your own brokerage and start
Definitely, yeah. So I'm used to having my neck on the line month after month with sales, as you'd expect. But no, it's a lot more work. It was quite scary the first day, I must admit, when I sat down, turned my laptop on and opened it, and I had no CRM with no contacts in it and no people to pick up the phone to and ring because I was under my non-compete at that point. So being able to just sort of work for yourself is really, really rewarding, and I find that it motivates you to put in the hours a lot more. But there is a lot more hours that come with it. Anyone who says, go work for yourself, you'll be a millionaire in a year and it's going to be nice and easy, it's full of shit. It's hard graft, but I really enjoy what I do, so it doesn't feel like as much work. And then having the added sort of bonus that you've got skin in the game and you've got a shareholding in the business does mean that you work a bit harder on top of what I was already doing, at least. Yeah,
definitely. Do you feel then that for those jumping into maybe thinking about that, you have to be motivated really for it, and you have to understand that there is a demand and work for it that's probably, I guess, going above and beyond expectations potentially of what you'd probably expect?
Definitely, yeah. I think a lot of people who go down the entrepreneurship route as well set quite a high bar for themselves anyway. But motivation's a funny one as well, because I think with motivation it comes and goes for all of us. I think the thing that I try and focus on is just being disciplined with the work and knowing that I'm going to show up every day and just build that sort of consistency with what you're doing. So whether you're motivated or not, you know that you're going to be disciplined and you're going to get it done. I think that one of the challenges with motivating yourself and relying on motivation. Is if your motivation's the money and you make the money, then what do you do after that? Or if your motivation's a nice car or a nice watch, and then you buy the nice car and the nice watch and the nice house, what do you do at that point? I think you've got to sort of just have your goal for where you want to be in life or in your career, and then you just sort of be disciplined in working towards it rather than,
So do you think really that one of the big aspects, I mean, it might just be for you, but is goal setting really, and having that aim and target to constantly strive for?
Definitely, yeah. I think I don't even have a real major end goal, to be honest with you. I'd quite like to go travelling by the time I'm about 30 for maybe a year's sabbatical. It would be fantastic if I can run businesses on my laptop, but I love working. I love doing something with my time. So for me, sort of having like I want to retire at 30, it's not going to happen at all. I think I'd be dead in a month if I retired, to be honest with you, because I'd be so bored. So yeah, it is just having that sort of drive to do the work day to day. And yeah, I sort of build a bank of evidence as well, so that when you're not feeling motivated, you can look back and go, well, I've not felt motivated for 10 days this month, but I've still been able to get out and do the work. And then when you know sort of yourself that you can do it, it's just a case of sitting down and getting the work done at that point, isn't it?
That's it. And what you've just touched on there, you were saying obviously about getting to retirement age and whatnot. That's sort of a long-term goal for me, for some people, but I think you have sort of broke it down into short-term, bite-sized goals. Would you say? Would you say that's an effective way of what?
Yeah, I think for me it's a little bit easier to. I mean, you see it on those sort of cringy motivational LinkedIn posts all the time, don't you? It's like, it's a big staircase. Just take the first step. And it's
that's
a little
what we're trying
bit
to do
like
here, Jamie. We need that.
Absolutely. So it's that sort of incremental steps and sort of moving forward. But again, I don't know what I want to do when I'm 60. I'm so young still now. So
That's it. And I think there is a pressure now that it is like that for a lot of people of your age. And obviously trying to figure out what they want to do and whatnot. But the pressure to have everything sorted and do everything kind of thing.
Definitely, yeah. Well, you've got social media, haven't you?
That's it.
Shows you everyone at 22 driving a Lambo with a private jet and flying around the world. It's it's okay for some people. It's realistic for some people. You don't want to put a cap on people, but I think for most people, they've sort of lost sight of the fact that everything's a long-term game. And if you look at someone like Warren Buffett, it's just been incremental over years and years and years. And no one wants to be a billionaire when they're 90, but that's probably the more sustainable way of getting there, and sort of it's those marginal gains and reinvesting.
I guess patience really as well as an aspect in it. Obviously understanding that it's not a quick sort of fix.
Oh, absolutely. Right? Yeah, and even in my own journey coming into the broker hub, it's not necessarily taken off the way that we'd loved it to, for Aston at least, or the way that I would have liked it to. But ultimately it is getting there, and we're in a strong position going into sort of Q4 for our year, start of the next year in March. And then it's just building on it. And it's, you can sit there and go, we're touching, we're breaking even, we've not made any money, sort of worry about that side of things. We might dip into the shareholders loan. But ultimately, if you look at where we were a year ago, 9 months ago when we started the business, the knowledge we've got now is 10 times better. Me personally, my prospecting's become better. I'm a better salesperson. I know more about the products. I understand the market better. I've got more connections with lenders. So you just constantly build on it. And now we have got existing customers that we can work with, fortunately. So you just keep building that part and then keep working on it. And again, it doesn't happen overnight, does it? But nothing worth having comes easy. So
Absolutely. When you first started then, I know you touched a little bit upon it there, where you said that it was a bit scary at first. What were the initial challenges and doubts then when you took that entrepreneurial leap, I guess, in your own business?
So yeah, I think by the time I'd taken the leap, I didn't really have any doubts. I never really doubt myself once I've made a decision, because again, I think it's not the best use of your time. Ultimately, you've made the decision, so you've got to go for it. But I think the thing for me was I was earning quite well at the time, living alone, living quite a nice lifestyle to go with it, sort of visiting mates constantly in different cities and having holidays and everything. And it was sort of stepping away from the security of a really well-paying job and going, yes, I just need to do what I've done in this previous role over 2 years and build the business, and we're going to be in a great place. But equally, I need to pull my finger out and do a little bit of work to get to that point. And I think the concerns were more around not having the support that I used to have, which absolutely hasn't been the case at all. And equally just wanting to it was more concern around money more than anything else, paying rent and making sure that's all right. But again, the joy of coming into the broker hubs, I've had wages guaranteed, I've had commission from day one, which if I'd gone down the road of doing it myself, when you're running a business on your own, you don't have that. You know, your bank account is your bank account. You've not got a shareholder's loan that you can dip in and out of if you need to. If you've not got money in the bank, you can't pay yourself and you can't pay your bills. So I think being part of the broker hub sort of removed an element of that stress and allowed me to just focus on it. And, you know, you say it's different. I do a bit more with like marketing and stuff now and that side of things. But at the end of the day, I'm still a broker. I still sit there hammering the phone every day and I'm still doing deals. So
Absolutely. And I guess the broker hub is that supportive framework really that's gave you that, and like you just said there, financial stability, so you can focus on actually doing what you do best.
Absolutely,
which is the sales part.
Definitely, yeah. And I think there's two ways you can look at it. Is some people will go, oh, I need to keep 100% of the company, you know, I'm not giving away my equity, blah blah blah. Or you can look at it at the view of, you know, what would I rather have, a quarter of a watermelon or a whole grape? And someone down at the Curve offices said to me, to be honest with you. Yeah, so shout out if you're watching. But no, it was a good phrase, and I think ultimately it does mean that, you know, you've got the support network in place that allows you to then grow the watermelon. You've got the support when it comes to scaling the business. You're all recruiters, so when you need to actually employ people, then there's a great network in place for that. So, you know, it's what does the cost of having to do everything yourself cost you in terms of time versus if I outsource this from the get-go to the broker hub, what's this going to enable me to do when it comes to growing the business? And I thought I'd take that stance rather than trying to be greedy with my equity, which ultimately is worth fuck all, isn't it, if you've not got any money in the bank?
Yeah, no, absolutely. From when you were thinking of taking that step into the entrepreneur world and your own business with Aston, were there any sort of role models or mentors that supported you within that journey? Definitely.
Well, Kev had been mentoring me a little bit prior to that. I think one thing that was quite refreshing about Kev's approach as well is that he's very much of the attitude of, he's not one of these people who tells you to go buy an expensive car and an expensive watch on finance so that you have to keep billing loads to make him loads of money. He'll tell you to save your money and sort of invest it properly. So we'd done a bit of work on Rich Dad Poor Dad, as he tells everyone to read who's involved in the network. And then sort of followed up with a bit of mentoring from him for probably about 3 months. And then he mentioned that the broker hub was launching and everything. So I think he was probably quite instrumental in bringing me into the broker hub and sort of introducing me to the team. And then equally, Martine and Phil are both sort of fantastic role models to look at day to day and sort of see their experiences. But yeah, I don't have any sort of any one specific person who sort of pushed me along, to be honest.
Absolutely fine. Then how did these three individuals guide that decision-making process then? Today and obviously when you were thinking of jumping in?
Definitely. So I was looking at the people that I was working with at the time, and they were all fantastic, brilliant company. Honestly, can't fault them. I'm still very, very grateful for all the opportunities that I had there. So I was working at an accountancy firm as a specialist finance consultant in there. And then sort of moving into this business, I think it was just looking at the experience that they had on the other side of it. Because the company I was at prior to starting Aston, it was very much a brokerage. Everyone in there was brokers. They were all from brokerages. With the broker hub, it was from the lender side of the market. So you had Phil from obviously Syscap and Wesleyan Bank, and Martine, who was coming from just cash flow and has experience at Aldermore, etc. So it was being able to almost see the other side to the market, which you tend not to get as a broker. And there is very much a divide between brokers and lenders in my market. So lenders tend to think that the brokers are all arseholes. Brokers tend to think that the lenders make life difficult. Not that I hold either of those opinions.
Like a broker-lender war.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was just having some experience from people from that side of the market to actually think, wow, this probably is going to make me a much better broker because I'm going to have feedback on proposals, and very quickly had feedback on my proposals from Phil and improved those. So that's yes, why I made that jump partially.
No, fair enough. Well, we'll now move on to personal achievements then, Jamie. Recently...
Make me blush.
I know, it recently been awarded, I guess, the Leasing Foundations 30 Under 30. Speak to us a little bit more about that then. What is that?
So that's the top 30 individuals from both brokers and lenders within the business finance market so that are under 30 years old, obviously. So yeah, it's an honour to be listed in that. Yeah, didn't quite feel real when I got told, but it's nice to have the recognition. It adds a lot of weight to sort of Aston's name in the Broker Hub as well. So it's good to sort of get on the board early doors, and now we've got some work to put in to try and prove that we should be on there, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I think it also shows the hard work that you've been putting in, though. I mean, surely not just any old willy-nilly's awarded this. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
I think it's sort of a recognition of what you've done so far.
Definitely.
Would you agree? Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And it's nice to make a bit of a splash in the market as well. It's what we wanted to do, sort of come in and make a little bit of noise. And you know, we are the new kids on the block, but I think we've got a really strong model at both Aston and the Broker Hub, and I'm looking forward to sort of growing that and making more noise as we continue to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. How then has this award, how has it sort of impacted you going forward then for the future and future aspirations? How do you feel it's done that?
Definitely. It's something, if you told me a year ago when I started Aston, I wouldn't have believed you was possible. So I think it's definitely opened me up to sort of the sky is definitely the limit. There is no cap on what you can do. I think the other thing, like you say, is it's that recognition, isn't it? It gives you some credibility. Being so young quite often throws people off when you jump on a Teams call and you look about 12 when they've looked at your LinkedIn profile before and it says that you're one of the 30 under 30 for the Leasing Foundation. It just adds a little bit more weight and means that you've got that buy-in from people slightly earlier as well, which is also quite important when you're immediately asking them for their bank statements and their financials and all of that.
Yeah, I'm not sure I trust this guy.
Yeah, definitely.
I had the same sort of thing when I was apprentice and I was jumping on Teams calls and I was sort of sat there just like really quiet, like I don't really know if I should speak. Yeah. So I guess with this recognition that you've got, I mean, not saying that you're not a confident guy, but it will give you that boost and like I said, recognition that people actually know who you are now, and you've got that now.
Definitely. It's just that added credibility, and again, it's the other thing that's great about events like that, and the award's fantastic. It's nice to have a bit of a pat on the back every now and then, but what I really draw value from when I go to those events is they do. So I mentioned before we joined the podcast, they do the Industry Insights program with the FLA, who support that award as well. Nathan Mollett from UTB Bank does a great job of pulling all of that together. But with the event that we did, we had a round table with a load of other young people in the finance industry, so it's actually an opportunity to sit down with other people who are on the list for the 30 under 30 and also that aren't, and just have a conversation where, you know, you've not got people who are higher up in the company around sort of putting pressure on anyone, or people don't necessarily feel like they can say what they think, and just hearing about what they're doing in the industry and how they've got into it, and having that contact with people is quite nice when, like me, you're stuck in an office in my flat at the moment all day, every day, sort of same four walls. So I think that's what's nice about that area of the industry as well, is that they bring people together and you can have conversations with people in other areas of the business.
You've just mentioned there about obviously having the four walls really as your only friend currently. Do you know what I mean? I guess that aspect of an entrepreneur and owning your own business, it must be nice to go to these networking events and learn things about other people when you've obviously just sort of by yourself in your room maybe, or something like, or your flat, like you say. Would you say that's, I guess, potentially a challenge that you've experienced as being an entrepreneur?
To an extent, yeah. I do miss having an office. I'm looking forward to getting the office set up and bringing some people in, to be honest with you.
Is that something you're doing, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so key for learning being in the office. You know, I've never really loved working from home too much. I don't mind the way it is at the moment. You know, I've been doing it for 9 months. It'll probably be another 3 months of it before we do it. And the reason for that is I've wanted to grow the business organically rather than using the shareholder loan too much. So it's taken its time, but there's ways that we mitigate it. So I'll do probably like one day every 2 weeks. I'll just take myself to the gym. I've got a nice gym that I go to. I'll do a morning session and an evening session, and I'll go work from sort of the cafe and bar area for, you know, half the day and catch up on all my admin and everything like that. So the Broker Hub are quite supportive in the fact that they know that I am sat at home at a desk most days. I think the other thing that I really like about this industry, though, is that you can get out. So something I loved about working at the previous brokerage was I could go out to trade shows. So I still go out to trade shows quite regularly now with Aston, and I'll go and meet my customers at those trade shows. I go out and meet people for coffees or meet people for beers in London. We get out with lenders quite a lot as well. So there is opportunity to get out. I think if I'd done 9 months nowhere but a desk, I would be going stir crazy at the moment. But there is a lot of ways to get out of the office and still have some human contact. Yeah,
and I guess that freedom then, having that freedom to go out and speak to people, is that something that the Broker Hub would encourage really?
Absolutely, yeah. I think my first day was at a trade show, to be honest with you. So it was the second day that I sat down at the laptop and shit myself. But yeah, the first day, so I love a trade show. You know, you run around, you meet 30 odd companies that are all relatively fresh. Quite often you struggle to access them on websites, and you get to get introduced to them in person, which is brilliant. But yeah, the freedom to sort of go out, and even the freedom to go out and say, like, I'm going to go from the gym. I'm not going to be smashing through calls today, but I am still going to get all my admin done, and it's a chance for me to catch up on that side of the work. That's really refreshing as well, coming from sort of almost a very intense sales environment where it is 9 to 5, but you're absolutely going for it throughout those periods. So, you know, you can sort of manage your days a little bit better, and manage your week a little bit better for your own mental health at times.
That's it. And I was literally just about to touch on that, the mental health side of things. Obviously, like you said, sales is a very intense profession. There's no sugarcoating it, really, is there? It is very intense from 9 to 5, obviously, like you said. So I guess having that freedom and that awareness to take yourself away from that space and having that freedom to do it, is that something that you appreciate that obviously the broker hub's given you, I guess, and they clearly value? Yeah,
and I think that's part of sort of working for yourself in any capacity, is that you take on a lot more stress, but you've got a bit more freedom with what you do. I think the mental health thing with sales, it's a great point, because it's a very intense job regardless of what you're doing. You're only ever as good as your last month. I think the way that I best mitigate that's through exercise and daily exercise, and just making sure you're getting out and running, and you've got a way to switch off. But that was something that when I was at college, we used to have Lloyd's Bank come in, and they'd come in and do talks with us, and we'd pitch to them and sort of practice public speaking and all that. And one of the people who worked within investments, she was saying, you need to find a way to switch off if you're going to go into financial services, because it will be an intense job. And she said to me at the time, running was a great way for her to do that. Probably since starting Aston, I've followed suit with that front, and do run quite a lot myself. So it's just finding that place where you can sort of mentally switch off after work and then get yourself back to it the next day.
Is that what you'd recommend, really? I guess
everyone's different, aren't they? For some people it's knitting, for some people it's just sitting down and watching the TV. I just need to have some way to get my energy out, and sort of, because again, sitting down all day hammering a phone, you don't do too much in the way of physical exercise, but I just find it's a good way to sort of mentally switch off for a couple of hours, and means that I'm fresh the next morning to go again.
So back to the 30 under 30 thing then, mate. Reflecting on your journey, what milestones or achievements do you actually contribute towards this award, the award that you've received so far?
Absolutely, yeah. I think from conversations I've had with both Phil for why I was put forward, and Nathan, it's very much around the sort of making the jump and doing that after I was already sort of making a little bit of noise in the industry in the previous broker role. So I think that was partially why it was given to me. Other key milestones, I'm not too sure, to be honest with you. I don't really look back too often. I tend to be sort of like laser focused on what I'm doing moving forward and what the next task is. So yeah, I've not put too much thought into it, to be honest with you, mate. It's
That's all right. I was just curious and I don't know if you'll know, but with Aston Finance, was there anything during Aston Finance that potentially stemmed from that had notably contributed towards it, potentially? Was it, like you said, obviously starting the business?
Definitely, yeah.
Was that a major part of it?
I think potentially, yeah. And partly my age might play into it as well, because I am quite young going into it. I think as well, there's been a few compliments from lenders with my proposal writing since I've had the work with Phil and Martine on it, from them going, what are you doing? You look like a broker, to now this is something we'd happily put in front of credit without checking. So I think there's that element of just trying to do the best job possible by customers, and sort of being quite vocal about it, that helped me along with that. Again, I think part of the reason I managed to get in there quite early doors is because I've worked, my first job was when I was 13, 14. So it's just compounded effort over a number of years, and sort of doing it consistently, as I mentioned previously. I think
your story is inspiring, mate, to be honest, because I'm 26 at the minute, right? I don't own a business, and you're 22, and you've done all this. Do you see yourself as a role model? I know I was asking you before about role models and mentors, but do you see yourself as a potential role model?
Not especially. I've had people say it's inspiring to me previously, with sort of how quickly I've jumped through it. I like to be able to offer my skill set to people where possible. So I've got like one of my neighbours is looking to get into a career in sales at the moment. No experience within business, didn't really do particularly well at school, so didn't want to go on to further education, and even in the form of sixth form. But I've sat down with him, helped him write his CV, sort of coached him through some of the interviews, given him some questions to work with. So I suppose I do enjoy the mentoring front on that side of things, and I actually really look forward to bringing in staff and helping to mentor them through their journey, and hopefully get them as Broker Hub Broker Hub JVs eventually themselves. But no, not especially. I haven't thought thought of myself as a mentor or an inspiration. It's quite egotistical, isn't it?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't think I'd be the same, to be fair. I wouldn't want to be like, yeah, I'm a role model, of course, kind of thing. But no, I think, in my opinion, though, I do see you as a good role model, though, for your industry. You know, you've broken into the industry, and you've got 30 under 30. Obviously, that notable achievement. Do you feel like you've just said there, obviously, you enjoy teaching others?
Definitely,
obviously, what you've learned. Is that an aspect of what you feel your role is, I guess?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it's that helping facilitate positive change for people in the same way that I enjoy doing it for businesses. If I can bring someone in, teach them how to sell, and sales roles can be life-changing. You can earn life-changing money in them as long as you're selling the right products and you're in the right sector with it. So it's almost that ability to take someone and then help educate them to be able to change their own life. That's what I quite like about that side of things, and sort of helping utilise my skill set to give people opportunities that they otherwise wouldn't have. Because why should it just be my knowledge? It's about sharing it, isn't it? And helping to better other people as well.
Absolutely. And although you might not see yourself as a role model now or a mentor, do you see yourself maybe going into that potentially?
Definitely, yeah. I think one of my goals for Aston is I want to eventually set up a private equity firm, not massively dissimilar from Curve. I think I'll be a little bit more agnostic in the businesses that I'm investing in. I won't necessarily stick to one sector. But I would quite like to do sort of that venture capital role where you come in with the pot of cash and you go, right, I absolutely love this idea. How are we going to work on sort of building this? And here's the capital to be able to go away and do it. So yeah, I think as time comes and as I've built up that pot of cash to be able to help sort of JV with people and mentor them through the business element of it, then I absolutely will sort of eventually fall into that role. You may even hear me say I'm a mentor at that point.
Yeah, I'll be looking out, mate. I'll be looking out. So you've just touched upon it a little bit there, but what is the future then for Jamie Bridson? What is I guess 5 years' time.
5 years' time.
Let's say that.
Probably still be in Aston Commercial Finance in 5 years, I think. I think sort of 5 to 8 years, I'll then be looking at setting up potentially a couple of JVs of my own. I've got a friend who's a really good mechanic and could definitely run a garage, so I'm keen to get something sorted there. We've had a few discussions surrounding that. And then you never know what other opportunities are going to come up, do you? In the meantime, I can potentially see myself taking on some non-exec work if the opportunity arises as well, because I think that's fantastic to have as experience and getting hands-on with companies. And I think that's the other play with when you work for yourself and in the Broker Hub's model, it's not like you're employed, and if you had a customer turn around and go, I want you as a non-exec, and you're employed, they're probably going to turn around and you can't take on another job, you've got responsibilities here. Whereas, when you ultimately you're a shareholder within the business, you're allowed to have other stuff going on the side. So if I wanted to take on non-exec roles, I can. I guess we're just going to keep working really, really hard. It's just about building this company first is definitely my goal. 5 years, I'd quite like to have 5 to 10 brokers working for me. We'll keep it simple.
Yeah, keep it simple. Yeah, nothing too complicated.
I'll rabbit on for 2 minutes.
No, it's fine. Honestly, I've learned a lot, to be fair. So obviously you said a bit about yourself then, and I think you maybe briefly spoke about it there. But what about Aston then? What do you see for Aston and the Broker Hub, I guess?
Definitely, yeah. So I think my goal with Aston is to get it to sort of between 5 and 10 brokers. I think that's a nice size for a brokerage to be. Obviously, we'll have support staff in there as well, probably 2 or 3 support staff to help with the admin, and a new business team as well to obviously bring more leads into the company. And then the Broker Hub, gosh. Probably the wrong person to ask for that one with with what their goals are. No. I know they're expanding to have multiple JVs, so it's going to be interesting seeing how many there are at that point. I'd love to know if there's any non-exec roles going there where I can take a bit of equity. But
Sure. Good to be part of that journey, though, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's great to be in there early doors as well, and sort of helping shape it. That was another thing that led me into taking the opportunity as well. Is that you're the first in, you're going to come in day one working off an Excel spreadsheet, but ultimately all of the systems, you're going to have a say in how they work, and you're going to be able to give us sort of live feedback on that. And I've done a little bit of system development in my previous role, so being able to sort of come in and utilize those skills a little bit more, but also shape the Broker Hub a little bit myself. It's a great opportunity to do that as well. So 5 years time, we'll see how it goes. You never know what's going to happen. It might be another pandemic.
Oh, don't say that, Jamie. We can't end this episode like this. We can't do it like that. Something I ask on Curvecast as me final sort of send off. Just what I say one piece of advice, but you've probably got a few, to be fair. I'll say one piece of advice. What piece of advice do you have then for potentially brokers who are looking to make that leap in entrepreneurship, or people who are already, maybe I'm guessing you've learned so much so far as well. So what would you recommend to those looking to take that leap, maybe into business as a broker and own their own brokerage?
I think it depends. Yeah, it depends what stage you are. So if you're someone who's where I was when I left the pet insurance place, I think you want to get experience first in the industry, definitely working for a reputable broker. Obviously, the bigger the company, the more weight it has on your name. You want to stand out and work hard while you're doing that as well, because you want to be one of the top, or known in the industry as sort of one of the top brokers within that firm. When you get to that point, then obviously feel free to make the jump if you're wanting to. The Broker Hub are always open to have conversations with people, so I definitely recommend speaking to them. But yeah, I think that the one piece of advice is just working hard consistently and trying to compound it is what I'd go with.
Then for that, obviously now you've had a little bit of experience, isn't it, in owning Aston and having that brokerage of your own. What advice would you give to people who have maybe just started that journey and actually are in that position that you were when you started Aston, and maybe they're in the first couple of months and thinking, oh, maybe this isn't for me, or something like that, having doubts?
Definitely. I'd say for those people is get out, network, meet people in the industry, go meet your lenders, go meet your customers. It's worth its weight in gold if you're stuck on your own in a little room and you're having to crack on doing that. So getting out and seeing people is definitely the other bit of advice for those people. But it comes back to it, just be consistently working hard, and it will come to fruition. Nothing happens quickly, does it? And nothing's easy.
Absolutely not. Yeah. Thank you very much, Jamie, for jumping on today and speaking with us. It's been a pleasure. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about brokerage and finance, and knew very little before. I'm going to be honest with you.
It bores most people, to be honest with you. You've done well to stay up for the 40 minutes or so.
Yeah, I know. I'll give myself a pat on the back for that one. No, I'm just kidding. I've really enjoyed it, mate. Really interesting.
No, same to you.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to Curvecast. To learn more about Curve and stay connected, be sure to check out the episode description, where you'll find links to our website, social media platforms, and more information about our special guests.